In this video, we're going to continue working on splitting the RLCI application into a client-server architecture. In the previous video, we had a look at what was needed to start working on this and made some preparations. And in this video, we're going to start to build the actual server. RLCI is a continuous integration system that I'm working on. I've made several videos about it here on my YouTube channel, and you can find more information in the README file on the GitHub page. So let's start by figuring out how to expose the engine class as a socket server. I suppose we could leave the engine class just as is. And create a new class called engine server that will take an engine as an argument and delegate requests to that one. So something like this. And then something like turn self.engine.trigger request name, something like that. And this would also need to depend on like some kind of server. And we can set it up by saying something like self.server.listen and self.server.handler, something like this. So I'm just trying to figure out how the server should be written. So we need some kind of infrastructure wrapper for a server. Okay, so before we can have this, we need to have an infrastructure wrapper for a server. And the interface would be something like this, and this will, I think I will make this a Unix domain socket server for now. So listen will probably something like tmp/RLCI engine.socket, something like that. Or maybe it will make more sense to do start. I don't know. Before we can write tests for engine server, we need an infrastructure wrapper for a Unix domain socket server. I start by writing the test to figure out the interface. Then I need to read about the socket interface in Python to be able to write the test that queries the server. I write the test and fill in the implementation. A timeout was needed because my test client queried the server before it had time to come up. I think at least. I next went ahead and made the infrastructure wrapper nullable so we can use it in a useful way in our tests. But let's skip ahead to actually using the infrastructure wrapper in the test instead. Let's see if we can actually implement this one now. So let's open up this one right here. Actually, engine. All the tests here call this trigger in test mode. So how about we just modify this one? Let's see if we can do that. To instead instantiate an engine server. Okay. So we still need to create the engine. Okay, let's see. Let's start with the tests. Oops. All right. So let's extract this. So this works, and now we can instantiate the engine server with engine and server. And server is Unix domain socket server create null, and simulate response, simulate request should be this test. Let's see. Let's import that. I chose to modify the test for engine to instead instantiate an engine server and make the trigger call through that. Later on, I ended up writing new tests for the engine server and keeping the old tests for engine. So here's what we got now. All the tests still apply, but instead of calling a trigger here, we instantiate the engine server, simulate a request test, start the server, and when we start the server in this null version, it will simulate a request and finish. We can read a successful flag from this. What we really want to do is, instead of checking successful, we want to make sure that the successful was actually sent as a response here. I continued to improve the tests and make them more realistic, but then it was time to actually run this server on my integration machine. So we need to have this server running on the integration machine, and it should be possible now to instantiate the engine server. So okay, so let's have a look at this file right here. So let's create a similar one, like an entry point, and say RLCI engine .py from RLCI pipelines import engine engine server, and then engine server dot create dot start. Do we have a create on engine server? I don't think we do. No. So let's add a test case for that. It can be instantiated, something like this instance, engine server, true. Let's run the tests. Fails as an attribute create, sure, and that is static method. Return engine server, and we need to pass engine and server. So engine server. This is a Unix domain socket server. Engine. What does that need? Let's see. It needs a terminal. Terminal. Let's do it like this. Terminal. We can probably steal this from RLCI. Let's see. Create. Yeah. Let's just steal. So, what do we need? Engine, terminal, args we don't need, process we need, DB we need, file system. Okay. What? Line 19. No. Engine. Whoops, what happened here? There we go. Missing 2 required positional arguments, OS and socket. Great. There we go. So let's try this. So if we do Python, Python RLCI engine. We immediately got an error because this file doesn't exist and we try to remove it. Let's see. Python OS. Is there a force flag or something? Maybe not. Okay, so let's try to fix that. Let's see. File not found error. Okay, so let's just ignore that. Okay, where are we? Infrastructure. Let's remove. Try. Accept. File not found error. Pass. Let's see if it has still passed. They do. And now when we run it, it does something. Sure. So now we have an entry script to run the server. I configured supervisor D on my CI server machine to start this service and to restart it whenever it crashes. Next, I modified the deploy script to actually restart the service using supervisor command whenever a deploy is made, so that the latest version of the server is always running. Now the server is running and it's restarting on every deploy. There were some issues with the deploy script, in particular regarding permissions. So at first, the RLCI user did not have permission to run supervisor commands and stuff like that, and there were some more permission errors. And I had to debug this manual to figure out what was wrong. And I really had trouble to make this change in small steps. I guess I just have to practice more to take smaller and smaller steps. But now we have a server running, and in the next video we will work on modifying the command line application to actually call this service instead. So I'll see you in 1 week.